Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, depending on when and where you are when you're watching this video. Yes, I know there's no lights on, but I have a monitor on, so hopefully you can at least see me. And if you can't, that's okay, because there's a reason for this video. I watched a video yesterday. I'm not going to attack the reviewer. I was just a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Hurt is definitely not it, but I was kind of shocked when I saw something in a review yesterday. Now, this was a review for a mod slash tank that has a Bluetooth speaker. Something new, something never been done. And while I will say, great, awesome, that's kind of cool, he did bring up one point that I completely agreed with him. And that is that the battery, first of all, it's an internal battery. It's a 2100 milliamp battery. And if you're using it in Bluetooth, you know, you're using the Bluetooth speaker with your iPhone or Android or whatever, and you're vaping on it, he said you're going to get about an hour of, you know, usable time with it. And he said that he would like to see it have like a 21700 battery that you could switch out. I personally think you should have two, because if you're doing Bluetooth speaker and you're also vaping, you really need at least two batteries in the thing. Quite frankly, I would even go as far as to say three. But that's just me. You know, what do I know? The one thing that shocked me, though, and this is my personal opinion, some of you may agree with me, some of you may not, and that's quite all right. If I were to meet Mike Vapes in person, you know, because I think he's a cool person, you know, I wouldn't say, oh man, I'm just disgusted with you because you said what you said, or you're a bad person, whatever, blah blah blah. I would try and you know, at least get him to see this, what I'm about to say, from a blind person's point of view, or even a handicapped person's point of view, to a point. One of the things he had said in the beginning was he had said that, you know, is this a gimmick? The fact that it's got a Bluetooth speaker. And then, you know, kind of toward the end, he actually said he really likes the ability. Could he do without it? Yes, but he really likes it. One of the things that he did say, though, and I'll put a link to the video in the description so that you can go watch his video on this particular mod and tank, because quite frankly, I don't remember the name of it, because quite frankly, in my opinion, you couldn't pay me to buy this thing, and I'm going to tell you why. Yes, I think a Bluetooth speaker is kind of cool, but as far as I'm concerned, for me, the fact that it's an internal battery and it's only a 2100 milliamp battery, the fact that you'd only get maybe about an hour, you couldn't pay me to buy that mod. Especially considering I'm someone who uses, you know, Firelink mesh tanks, which in a lot of respects do require, you know, 65, 70, 75, 80 watts, depending on the particular tank. I've only got one tank, and I generally use it between about 65 and 70. But one of the things he had said in his video was, we can do without the talking mods. He was basically, and I can't remember what he had said word for word, and I think he even, you know, prefaced it with it's his opinion and he can do without or whatever. But I really want him to stop and think about this from my point of view. And I got the perfect mod here to prove what I'm going to say, because not even a sighted person would be able to see this right now. This here is my iPriv, which is one of the ones he says we could do without. No, I can't. Well, okay, I can to a point. Do you know what wattage I'm on, ladies and gentlemen? Let's fire it up. Just kind of like that, and let's see. From what I've been told, you cannot see the display on this. It's got lines in it. The reason this is because it did take a tumble off of a bathroom counter, so the display no longer works on it. So I ask you again, do you know what wattage I'm at? The answer is you don't. Well, of course, watch, the screen's probably working and making a liar out of me, but regardless, I cannot see the display. I have zero sight, none, zip, zilch. I can look at the sun and I see nothing. I'll feel it, but I can't see it. Enjoying some cherry cola e-juice from Vape Wild in this particular tank at the moment. How do I know what wattage I'm at? I know that I'm at 68 watts. Now, how do I know this? It would be nice if the mod would talk when you push the buttons. So, you know, if I were to hit the down arrow once, it should now say 67.9, 67.8. If I hit up arrow, 67.9, 68.0. Actually, technically, no. I'm at 70 watts. That's right. I beefed it up a bit. But you get my point. My point is I don't know what wattage I'm at. Now, you're probably saying, well, how do you know? Because this mod, when it chooses to listen, and I'm going to stress that because that's, while we do have voice-activated mods, at least the voice activation in the iPriv made by Smock really needs some improvement. And I say this because my computer, when I'm reading a story or a web page, will set it off. There have been times my girlfriend and or my friends and I will be sitting here just talking, it'll set it off. Mickey Mouse Clubhouse has set it off. Sadly, it doesn't listen to me very well. Now, I don't know if you're supposed to hold it so far from your face. I don't know if maybe it's an accent thing. I really don't know. But the point is, it barely listens. When it does, though, here's how I know I'm at the wattage I want to be. Now, I know there is another mod that you can talk to. The problem with that mod is it does not talk back. And that's the key phrase with what I'm about to show you. And I'm going to try this several times until I get it to work so that you can see why this is important to someone like me. And more companies need to do this. At the very least, I'll go into the very least here in just a moment because that's something totally different. It's the whole Bluetooth thing. And I'll go into that in a minute. Hello, iPriv.
I'm here.
My wattage.
Mission complete.
High power.
Power has been increased.
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 Thank goodness I didn't have to fight with the mod a lot because that would have been just 90 layers of frustrating, which there are a lot of times I do. All right, so you heard me say, oh, and I'm afraid I don't know if it's still listening or not. That's the only problem. I wish this thing beeped at me to let me know it was done listening. So basically what I did was I said, you know, my wattage. By default, when you get this particular mod from the manufacturer, from the store, whatever, it's set at when you say my wattage, it's set at 50 watts. Now, obviously, when you open it for the first time, put batteries in it for the first time, its factory setting is, I do believe, and I could be very wrong. This was told to me by somebody, so I could be wrong. It's either 7 or 8 watts. So knowing this, and also knowing that when you say my wattage, by default, the my wattage is set at 50. So when I got it, I did basically what I just now did. My wattage sets it at 50. I'm using the Fire Luke mesh tank with mesh coils. I know that for me, the sweet spot is somewhere between 65 and 70, depending on the juice I'm using. This particular juice seems to do pretty good at 70. So what I do, after I say my wattage and it says mission complete, I say high power 4 times. I let it, I let it tell me that power has been increased each time. The reason I do this is because, by default, my high power is set at 5-watt increments. A blind person, A, would not know what wattage they're at. B, even if they did, would have to feel like they're playing a video game to get up to 70 watts. Because you have to, even if you say my power and get it at 50, to go up by 20 watts on this particular mod, because they set it at 0.01 watt, or no, it's not 0.01, it's 0.1 watt increments. So you would have to push the up arrow 200 times to get it up to 70 watts. I'm sorry, that's completely unacceptable. Now I know what some of you are probably thinking. Just hold the up arrow down for a little bit and push it, and but I don't want to have to do that. I want to be able to use this mod just like a sighted person. Okay, a sighted person can hold down the button, get it close to 70, and then maybe push the button a few times to get it at 70. I want to be able to do that. I don't want to have to push a button 200 times to go 20 watts. That's completely unacceptable. If I had eyeballs, I could get someone to go in and set my wattage to 65 watts probably, or 70. So then I would just have to say my wattage and it'd be right where I want it. There are some mods that do 1 watt increments, such as the Iron Fist mod. Unfortunately, that one doesn't talk. But at least with that one, once you know where you're at, which again, you have to get sighted assistance, once you know where you're at, you can just count in 1 watt increments instead of 0.1 increments. So you only have to push the button 20 times if you're at 50. You only have to push it 20 times to get to 70. Here's a headache for you guys. A lot of times I use the Cascade tank, and I use the coil that can do over 100 watts. My comfortable spot on that particular mod is about 90 watts. Problem. If I know I'm at 50 watts, I need to get to 90, I have to push the button 400 times. How many of you would make your finger sore trying to do that after a while? Or maybe you feel like you're playing a video game and you're shooting down the enemy. Hey, some enemies in some games do require a lot of shots. So the fact that this mod will talk is a huge plus. A Bluetooth speaker, while, like I said, it sounded great. I mean, he even did a demo of it on the video. It sounded great. Here's something else we could do. Instead of, because I don't know anything about programming, I don't know how hard it is to make these mods talk. If you're going to make it talk, I'd rather see it read as you use the arrow keys. I can't even navigate the menu successfully. Now, I did eventually memorize how to turn the voice on and off by memorizing numbers of key presses. That can get confusing. It's doable, but it can get confusing. So what I would propose is either, if you people don't like, if you think it's so gimmicky to have a mod that A, you can talk to, or B, a mod that is voice activated, which quite frankly could benefit sighted people. What if a sighted person is driving down the road in their car doing 65 miles an hour? Do they need to be taking their eyes off the road to adjust? Let's see, I want to adjust my mod here. Oh shit, here comes a truck. No, they don't. They don't need to be taking their eyes off the road. So yes, being able to talk to your mod not only helps those who have little to no sight. See what I mean? It just activated when I didn't even say its activation word. Perfect case in point. The chip needs to be a lot better, or the software in it that it's using needs to be better at recognizing the actual phrase. What would be even better and might be even easier to do is a Bluetooth mod that you can control with your iPhone. Again, I know there's probably some of you out there saying there are some. The question is, are they accessible with either on the iPhone it's VoiceOver, or on Talk, or on Android TalkBack? These are screen readers that work for us, that read our screens to us on our cell phones. I'm not paying $60, $70, $80, $120 for a mod that may have this capability, but that the software is not accessible. At that point, you're just pissing money down a well. You might as well just hand money to a friend of yours and walk away. So I propose one of two things. Either A, make these mods, and I know there's some of you who are going to say, no, 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 we don't need mods we can talk to. All right, you know what? Fine. If you don't want this mod to talk to you, give me the ability to hear. Anytime I push buttons on this thing, it'll talk. When I go into the menu, it'll talk. This mod does talk for other things. For example, if you take the tank off the top, if you try to fire it with no tank, it'll say no atomizer. If there's an issue where it thinks there's a short, it reads you the error, atomizer short. If your batteries are too low to fire, it says, what does it say? Voltage too low is what it says. So verbally, I know what's going on. If there's errors, I know what's going on. This is great. But like I said, you need to make the mods, and I really wish SMOC, UL, I cannot think of a lot of the different companies out there who make mods, but I really wish somebody would make a mod. I would beta test it for you. I'll alpha test it. You know, but to have a mod that would talk would be simply amazing. You know, that would read us everything. You know, there's been a couple mods where there's been some features I might like to use. Most mods do have the, under the power, they have hard, normal, and soft. I'd like to be able to play with those. What about the temperature control thing? I don't know nothing about it, and I'd probably be like, okay, whatever. Now at least it talks, I can access it. I'm not going to use it because of whatever. But I want that ability. I want the ability to be able to set it for stainless steel, set it at a particular temperature in vape. I would love to be able to set curves. You know, so much wattage at the first second, so much at the second second. I would love to be able to, you know, do these types of things, but I can't. Why? Because very little on this particular mod talks. The voice activation is nice when it works, but quite frankly, I would rather see it completely talk. Yeah, at least at that point, if I hold down the button and release it, I would hear what wattage I'm at. That would be the ultimate mod for me. And I think the easiest for most blind people to use, because they wouldn't have to rely on their cell phone. But if that's not feasible and cost effective, fine. Make a mod that has Bluetooth. Obviously it's very doable because they're doing a Bluetooth speaker inside of a mod. While, like I said, I think that's kind of cool, I would rather have Bluetooth that can then connect to my cell phone and let me control the mod. Let me set my wattage. Let me adjust the menus, you know, go into the menus and adjust different settings. Maybe that's easier to do with a mod and make it cost effective than a mod that will talk. Now, obviously, if you make a mod that talks, you probably wouldn't want that on by default, I know I would, because then I wouldn't have to guess. But if you're not going to have it on by default, at least have it to where we would know how to turn the voice on when we put the batteries in. So for those of you who do these reviews, Mike Vapes, Rip Trippers, Matt from Suck My Mod, Windy Vapes, I'm following a couple others on YouTube and I just can't think of their names off the top of my head, but when you guys think of mods, think of it from our point of view too. Yes, blind people are a minority, but you know what? A lot of people vape. I know a lot of blind people who vape. As a matter of fact, I got a blind person vaping here very recently, within about a week. Right now, he's using an alien mod. Does not talk. Does not have Bluetooth that he can adjust with a cell phone. So he has to do what I've had to do with a lot of my other mods. Guesswork. Which is kind of a pain in the butt. There are going to be some blind people out there who say, and as a matter of fact, I know one. He runs a vaping shop. He owns Vaping Dragon. And what he has even said to me is, oh, just adjust your wattage until it feels comfortable. Well, that's great. That's fine, and I can understand that. But I want to know what is my sweet spot on a mod. Once I set that wattage to, as he puts it, what's comfortable, I want to know what it is for each particular tank that I use and for each particular coil that I use. And hell, sometimes juices can have you change the wattage. Some juices don't do so well at 70 watts. You may need to bump it down to 65. I want to know these things. So in conclusion, I think some of these reviewers who just say who say that the voice capability, whether it be the talking, the fact that the mod talks or that you can talk to it, is just a gimmick, and that we can do without it, and that a Bluetooth speaker is a lot more a lot more whatever in a mod. Stop and think about it from our point of view. We would like to be able to use our mods the same way you do. And all these mods that come out, they're really cool, but we can't use 95% of the features in the mod. Why? Because we can't adjust them on our own. We have to rely on sighted assistance, whether it be someone sighted in person or someone sighted through FaceTime or Ira or Hangouts or whatever. Have a good day, everyone.